All I can say about this episode of Over the Moon for You is these maids were definitely raunchy, but I'm not complaining. It provided for some very interesting comedy of making tabloids, altering images in Photoshop just to make our boy Nasa look bad, so our girl Tsukasa would break up with him, in this case an actual divorce, because the character we get introduced to in this episode, well, one of the three characters we get introduced to, but the most prominent role, I would honestly argue, is Chitose, who is not really blood-related sister, but I guess because they kind of grew up together for so long, she views her as a sister, and she thinks no man is good enough for her, only her younger sister is, and what a wild ride this episode was. By the structure of this episode when it kicked off, I really believe that we are going to get a Tsukasa heavy focused episode, and while we didn't get her perspective for a majority of the episode, it definitely still was that in a technical definition, because while we didn't get to see her directly for a majority of it, we did get to see the house that she grew up in, the people that surrounded her, and get a bit of information in terms of her backstory, which I know a lot of people are trying to say, oh, what if it is like a more supernatural thing? What if she's been alive for hundreds of years because of the tale that Nasa kind of like brought up in the very first episode? I personally don't believe they're going supernatural. I think the author is purposely making it feel ominous, as if what if she does have a supernatural connection? That's why she's always wandering, not sticking to one location. Truthfully, I think she probably just had a very bad childhood and really doesn't feel comfortable in one location, and that's why she's very much holding on to the promise that two kids made back in the day that they would marry, because she really has never had that sense of security. Obviously, I could be completely mistaken, but I don't believe they're going supernatural with it. I believe it is just a very cute love story, and the fact that Nasa doesn't really care overly much about her past. If she decides to confront him with it, he'll listen with open arms and ears, but at the end of the day, he just cares about her and making sure that she has a happy life. Therefore, I don't think it's really all that important for the viewers to put a lot of theories into who she could be if it was more supernatural, she came from the moon and things like that. I really believe she just likes the moon and that's why she had a moon rock. I honestly believe that's where they're going, but I guess only time will tell. With that said though, and that little tangent out of the way, I think it's important to note, I really think this episode did great at actually establishing her more despite not seeing her that much. She wants to be a good wife. She's like, okay, I'll clean the apartment. Okay, he's such a great husband. He's already cleaned the apartment. Oh, I can cook. I can do this. And then you get introduced to her. And I was like, okay, Chitose, I think, is going to be a wild ride. And she was. She was someone getting the door slammed in her face, a hand to the face to push her away. It was honestly very interesting, and they didn't make her overly cringy or annoying. I think often anime have this problem with the younger sister trope where they're very, very clingy, and they come across as a bratty kid who you don't want to see around. But honestly, I think her addition was very fun because she switches between hot and cold so fast, it is adorable. It was no surprise that our girl locked her out saying like, hey, tell grandmama, we're gonna, I'm fine, I'll talk with her someday, you just go back and do your own thing. And our boy comes home and he's just such a nice guy. He really is. And I really like that every episode they give you at least one big moment to really make you think Nasa is a good guy. So it provides for any of the things that normally would be cringy, like how when he walks into that room where the asteroid, the piece of the moon rock was in, it smells like my wife in here. And they have like little blurbs that are being like, oh, he's a pervert, things like that. You never think he's a pervert because he's just such a genuine guy at the end of the day who's so carefree in such a innocent way. That's honestly the best way to put it. I love how he's like giving her this like pep talk, being like, oh, you lost family member, did you go to the police? And then when she gets the shattering realization that the person that she was actually being like, oh, this is a nice stranger, then she switches into her fiery devil mode. And I love that back and forth because I honestly thought they were going to go the direction that I think a lot of studios and just authors would go, is that he would get overly flustered and just kind of like go to his wife and make his wife handle it, because that's honestly what you generally would see. But he's so good with kids, and I think that's probably due to the fact that he's grown up around just, people that he's friends with, has younger siblings and things like that, and honestly the characters we met last week are a lot more hard to handle than her, if I'm being completely honest. So I love how he was able to really be like such an adult and break it down and make her just lose any control of the conversation ever, to the point that literally Tsukasa was like, wow, I really did marry a gem. Like, that's how she's looking at him. And then the kidnapping scene, you just love the escalation of this episode. You start it with simple housewife trying to be a good wife for her man, feeling like, I wouldn't think that the first day of me being married I'd have to go back to my home alone, giving you that bit of sorrow, but also saying like she is happy that she did marry him. And then you escalate it to the point of saying, okay, we're learning about her family. I said last week's review, I didn't think they were blood related, and the reason was because their facial designs weren't even close to being similar, and that's something anime generally does. If there is a sibling relationship, they will generally have some features from eyes, ears, mouth, the face shape in general. So the fact that they honestly look completely different, and usually they share a hair color or at least some noticeable feature, wasn't surprised that they weren't blood related in the slightest. So it was nice to have that be like, okay, this is definitely what we expect from Over the Moon for You. The kidnapping, wasn't expecting, and goddamn did I not expect the Maids. Having two maids, one of which I thought, okay, there was going to be one who'd be like that overly clingy big sister type, and the overly strict big sister type. I was not expecting one who was so willing at the snap of a finger to strip and take provocative photos at the will of her master. And how everyone in the room's like, no, you don't need to go this far, we can edit things along the way. And she's like, oh, okay, I guess if you say so. The other maid just being so embarrassed, even more so than Nasa, I feel like. I love how our boy isn't stupid though, and he takes opportunities into his own hands, like when they're all being like just ridiculous. He gets the hell out of dodge. I love that about his character, is that no character in this show, even when they do have absurd and even stupid moments, no one's actually an idiot so far. Everyone does act like, hey, we're not acting like this is a dumb horror movie where characters are just going to get killed. In this case, we're not just going to let our boy stay in a room and get provocative photos made of him so then he would get divorced. He takes the opportunity to run if the opportunity is there. No character acts really all that simple, and when they do, it's because they get caught up in the moment and they're really not on the short end of the stick that they're going to be screwed around with. So it's nice to have that absurdity and just, there was a Fate reference at one point, talking about command seals, which I love. And then you have the giant anime sword. I was like, what are we doing, Final Fantasy here? And then just like the simple moment of bonding of they literally smashed a case that was keeping the moon rock safe and secure. And our boy had to get some tape and a screwdriver to kind of like just say, you know what, we're okay here. We're just going to make sure that this isn't going to go away. And they kind of do make it ominous, being like, oh, do you know nothing about her past, why she cares about the moon so much? And I'm sure a lot of people are going to hold on to that for like a supernatural thing. I honestly think it's a red herring because based on how this episode and just honestly the show out of 4 episodes have been progressing, it feels to me that the most important thing isn't the past, but rather the present. And I think that's going to be a very important theme for the show going forward. But once again, they really did make it feel cute and adorable and hilarious, and they're finding new ways to just really escalate the comedy into new territory. And with the number of characters we now have been introduced to outside of our main pairing, there's a lot of potential for hilarious antics, and I can't wait to see more. Honestly, the fact that we got a kiss at the end of the episode, I mean, it's weird to say, but in 4 episodes we got a kiss, and that definitely is farther than most rom-coms go. But then again, we pretty much start the anime with them being married, but now we got a kiss, so we're kind of doing things back and forth. We're not really following the traditional relationship flow, but in doing so, we're getting more progression than pretty much every rom-com anime out there, so I'm not complaining in the slightest. New characters, great. The maids were amazing. I hope to see more of them. Chitose, we have, honestly, I think she's a bratty know-it-all, but honestly, I think she's charming in her own unique kind of bratty way. I'm just excited for more, but of course, as always, let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. What did you think of the new characters, and what was your favorite gag in the episode? If you enjoyed the video, of course, if you'd like to share your support and hit that subscribe button if you haven't been new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.